for my diagnosis, I mean, because of my family history, at least for me, maybe not for everyone, but it's often in the back of your mind, like, is my body ever going to betray me?
Okay.
Is something ever going to happen?
Holy Father, God in heaven, show your power, let it come for your kingdom and your honor, through your spirit and your son. Spread the Opps out, spread the Opps out, spread the Opps out.
Welcome back.
All right, we are on episode 5.
5.
Yes, so I'm Joshua, this is Sherelle, and then we have a special guest with us. You can introduce yourself.
I'm Kristine.
Yeah, this is our friend Kristine. We go to the same church, and yeah, she's gonna tell us her story and just your journey, because you have such a powerful story and a powerful journey that has impacted our lives, and I would say even impacted our relationship. Like, I'm not sure we would be married if it wasn't for you.
I doubt that.
Is that a lot of pressure?
You have a specific part to play in our relationship.
You definitely do. Because, okay, so the first time we met was at prayer night. Mm-hmm. Yeah, do you remember?
Yeah, so at our church, I was just sitting in the sanctuary praying, and Sherelle came up to me and asked if I needed prayer for anything, and so we talked. It was the first time we had talked, and yeah, you were... I think I was struggling with, some body image stuff and being single and that kind of thing. And you whispered to me.
I confided in you. You were the first person I told about my crush on him. Yeah, and I think was he there that night?
I can't remember. I don't think so.
Before even I did.
Yeah, you were the first person I confided in.
Yeah.
And just, I mean, apart from Donovan. But yeah, the first person that was a friend that I was like, I really like him, but he won't let me like him because he says I'm in a wheelchair. And it just, at that point, it was the biggest hindrance in our relationship was Josh's body image. Yeah, so just sharing that with you and just saying, what if one day a guy comes along and, and for me, my heart was hurting so much at that time. You put me through so much. Yeah, so that was our first meeting. And I don't know when you guys first met.
I don't know, it was soon after.
I remember.
It was probably at prayer night too, one of those times. And then I think Sherelle had brought you over. I think that's actually the first time that had met you.
And we were dating at that point?
I think so.
Possibly?
I think so. Or at least we were in the process of getting together.
Yeah. And then you were at our wedding, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I barely knew you, but at that point, but it was just like, we want you there. And I was like, yeah.
You're part of our story.
Yeah, it was so encouraging to me. So I think, one of those things, the things you shared when we first met that night was just how... and I think you even mentioned it in an earlier podcast, how you felt like it was a compromise for someone. And that exact word was what I had written in my journal of like, I'm struggling because, I've wanted marriage for a long time, and dating is very much... physical focus sometimes, and I just felt like, in addition to someone having to worry about cancer and whether or not I could have kids or like all of those different things, it was like my physical body is full of scars. My face, which is like the main feature that people look at, was just not... Yeah, it was just so far from what I ever thought that I would look like, or so that word compromise just like hit me. And so you guys sharing your story and seeing you at your wedding, and now like just together, it just makes me so happy.
And it's funny because you talked, like, you said things that we're still having to work through.
Mm-hmm.
Those are conversations we have had, was what is having kids gonna look like, and what does our day-to-day with pain and with the, like, I remember you told me one time life expectancy is quite a bit lower when you're in a wheelchair. When you're quadriplegic. So that was something that we also had to talk about, is am I going to end up being alone? So like that, but that wasn't a compromise for me. I was so in love with him. So, okay, but we're moving too fast.
Okay, so let's go
back.
Let's go way back.
So, okay. Who are you? What was your life like growing up? Yeah, tell us about yourself. Yeah.
So I grew up kind of all over the place, mostly in British Columbia. Had a very close-knit family. I have an older sister, a younger brother, and a younger sister. So us 4 siblings.
It's a big family.
But we were very close. I was homeschooled until grade 4, so spent like all day every day with them.
I mean, we can get into that in a whole
but just growing up very close. I think like going to public school for the first time, I still am socially awkward and just really shy, and so growing up as a teenager in like the early 2000s, it was like body image was like very in your face all the time.
Sure. All those girls' magazines that my sister had, right?
Yeah, so like skinny, thin eyebrows, straight hair, and I have always had curly, frizzy hair and hated it. Growing up, I was always very self-conscious.
That's funny because curls are in right now.
I know. Yeah. It's like, it's
flipped. Look at your hair.
Just always had like acne, but even in that, like I wouldn't say I was super, like body conscious.
Yeah.
I grew up, I think, with like a healthy body image.
Good.
But my family moved to Winnipeg, and my mom started a job here, and so kind of trying to break into very Mennonite heavy high school where everyone has known each other since kindergarten.
Wait, which high school did you go to?
River East.
Oh, my mom went to
in North Kildonan.
I think my mom went to River East.
Yeah. So as someone that was very shy, it was hard to kind of be myself, and I was just more of a reserved person.
Kind of kept you a little bit of an introvert.
Yeah. And so then before your diagnosis of cancer, what did you know about cancer growing up? What was your relationship with it?
So, unfortunately, cancer runs in my family.
Okay.
So my Oma had an osteosarcoma in her kidney, so a tumor in her kidney. She looked like she was 9 months pregnant.
Whoa.
And so she had surgery and got that removed. And it came back 5 years later, and she decided not to do anything. So she lived, I think, about a year in her room and passed away at home. And
was that a painful process for her?
Yeah, and like I was younger at the time and didn't fully understand. The first time she came as like cancer free, it felt like, okay, she's good, life just went on. And then it came back, and so that was hard to kind of comprehend at a younger age as well. My cousin, younger cousin, had a brain tumor at 21.
Okay.
They told him he had 3 months to live.
Wow.
And crazy story. felt like he heard the audible voice of God in an MRI machine telling him, by the grace of God, you are healed.
Wow.
And his MRI results came back, and the doctors were like, I don't understand. There's no trace of cancer, not even like a cloud of cells, which is like, if the chemo had worked, there would still be evidence, but it was like completely gone.
That's wild.
And that was like 15 years ago.
And so how old is he now?
My math. Early 30s.
Wow.
Yeah, and just welcomed a little baby boy.
Oh my gosh.
So
That's unreal.
It's
so
encouraging. Got more stories. My mom in 2008 had a seizure, and they discovered a tumor in her skull, and hers was benign, so not cancerous. They did surgery, and the neurosurgeon accidentally cut the nerves in her eye, so she can only open her eye, her right eye, halfway, and doesn't have movement. And so she she keeps her right eye closed all the time. So when we're out in public, we're quite the pair.
You're walking off the opposite side of each other.
The whole neighborhood, like that, the grocery store in her area, they all know her. They like,
nice.
They keep the crowd of a crowd, right? She's very extroverted and talkative too. So,
and so you were how old were you when that happened to her?
Oh, so 2008. Again, math is not my forte.
14 years ago. 14 years ago, yeah. Or
so
more than
like
16 years ago,
yeah. So, I mean, I'm 38 now.
A long time
22.
ago.
A while ago, yes.
I'm like, don't make me do math when I'm under pressure.
Yeah, you're like 22, so you're young.
Yeah. So she's her tumor is fairly stable. It's just very slow growing. My aunt, her older sister, also had a tumor in the base of her neck.
Wow.
That was wrapped around a lot of major blood vessels, and so they told her that surgery was going to be really risky. They were fully prepared to like resuscitate her during surgery. It was going to be really complicated because it was like wrapped around and entangled on things. And the surgeon opened her up, and the tumor fell out of her head into the surgeon's hands.
No way.
And gone.
Wow.
So
it's like it wasn't even attached or anything like that.
Yeah.
And she's
I don't know the full extent of it. Yeah.
Wow.
So I have very quite the range of experiences with cancer.
But like what's so amazing is that not only do you have cancer in your family, but you actually have miracles in your family. Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
Yeah, and
that's
that was
so
a
encouraging.
huge thing. Like when I first got diagnosed, it was like, yes, our family has a history of cancer.
Yeah.
But our family also has a history of miracles.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean.
So then, what was it like having that diagnosis?
Well, okay, like the days leading up to it. Obviously, you're unsuspecting, right? And so you said that you actually mentioned you were at a wedding the day before, right?
Or before chemo?
The day before chemo. So, I mean, for my diagnosis, because of my family history, at least for me, maybe not for everyone, but it's often in the back of your mind, like, is my body ever going to betray me? Is something ever going to happen? And so I think I noticed some symptoms in my mouth like late 2020.
Okay.
And I think I knew in the back of my mind that something was wrong, but I didn't want to face it. I just kind of ignored it for probably longer than I should have.
Was it kind of like have you ever had like a toothache before? Is it kind of like that, or is it?
No, so I actually I started having trouble like eating on this side, and I actually developed a lump on the roof of my mouth.
Okay.
And so I went to my dentist in January of 2021, and just said like, hey, I don't know what this is, and like I'm having some pain on my left side. And so she took an x-ray and came back and said, well, I don't know what this is, but there's a lot of extra bone like above your gums. And immediately I knew. And I think the first words I said were, my family has a history of head and neck tumors. And
it's crazy that it's like, it's that localized too, right?
Wow.
So it took, I mean, it's such a long story. They thought it was just my wisdom teeth. And so I got those out and had really, really intense pain on my left side. I was maxing out on both ibuprofen and Tylenol.
Like the T3s?
Not T3s at that point.
Yeah.
I actually am allergic.
Wow.
But yeah, like I got to the point where I was like worried about how much I was taking. So I was like recording how much and like alternating between ibuprofen and acetaminophen, and having to take naps on my lunch break.
What were you doing at the time?
Working for a nonprofit called Mennonite Central Committee. So
Oh, okay.
MCC,
Yeah. So they do peace and justice work around the world.
Oh, okay.
So
That's cool.
doing admin work. And at that time it was still like post-COVID, so working from home full time. So I was able just to like sneak in a nap at lunch. But yeah, it took a while. I went back to my oral surgeon and a couple times, and then finally said like, this is my family history.
Yeah.
Something's not right. And so they did a CT and came back with a massive tumor that started in my gums and filled my sinus cavity.
Wow.
So they
But
were
you can still smell though, right?
not anymore.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I have zero sense of smell.
Oh.
Yeah, it dropped down. This is actually before I got my CT scan. Part of the reason I felt like something still wasn't right after my wisdom teeth were out was I was like becoming short of breath, and like my nostril was plugged on the left, and my mom had just been like in intensive care with COVID. And so when I went to my family doctor to get checked out, I saw a medical resident, and she gave me a nasal spray and told me that I was just stressed out. I needed to see a counselor.
Wow.
They just throw medicine at you. I'd be like, you'll be okay.
Yeah. So my actual family doctor apologized. But yeah, after that CT showing the tumor, I had to have a couple biopsies before they realized that it was cancerous.
Yeah.
And
What was the timing for that?
so I got a CT scan June of 2021, and the results June 30th. So then it was like, okay, you have this tumor, but it's Canada Day, so like we can't get in touch with cancer care. So, okay.
That would be like on their list of priorities, right?
Yeah. So I mean, there's so many things I could say, but yeah, advocating for yourself, definitely.
Oh, no kidding, right?
But yeah, so then I saw cancer care, got a biopsy, 2 biopsies in July of 2021, got my diagnosis August of 2021, started chemo September of 2021.
Yeah.
Wow.
So how did so you know that you have family history, and so you've already kind of built up preparing yourself, because you're in the case of but when type of thing, just because there's a track record, right? So how did you go from sort of preparing yourself to now it's like, okay, I've got cancer? What was your processing like?
Yeah, I mean, because of my family history and because of like the family members the members of my family that have had head and neck tumors are still all here. My Oma, who had the osteosarcoma, that's the type of cancer that I had, passed away. And so it was this like, I'm believing for the best. I'm believing God for a miracle. I'm asking but not demanding. But I believe like even if there isn't like instant healing for me, I believe God can like equip the surgeons to do the healing through medical reasons. But there's still so many miracles that I'm praying for. There's, my sense of smell, I'm told, will never come back. That really affects my sense of taste. Eating is hard because I can't open my mouth very wide.
Right. So you have to have like a sort of limited diet, not limited, but specific in what you can and cannot.
I'm pretty free with what I eat. Over the years I've adjusted, but I just have to cut everything really small. So it takes me forever to finish a meal.
Wow. So then tell us, what was all the surgeries that you had to end up having?
First of all, they were debating whether to do chemo and radiation and then surgery, or surgery and then chemo radiation. But they ended up trying to shrink the tumor first. Before surgery, to try and make the surgery easier. But there was a risk that if that didn't shrink it at all and it actually grew, that it would grow too much into the boundaries they had set, and that they wouldn't be able to get it out, and that they would declare me palliative. There was a risk that if it had moved up any further into my eye, that they would actually like take my eyeball out. They decided to do chemo first, which didn't really work. I had a lot of side effects, and it just wasn't doing anything.
Is it like beyond the normal, like nausea and that kind of thing, or is it mostly just that?
Nausea, mouth sores.
Wow.
So it was hard to swallow. It was hard to eat. I dropped throughout chemo. I dropped 65 pounds. So I went from like 140 to, I think my lowest was like 79 pounds at one point. I was skin and bones.
That was similar for me, because I had like atrophy, so I went from about 160 to around 120, so lost about 40 pounds in about a month. So it was it's crazy what your body what happens to your body.
So then after the chemo didn't really work, or they stopped chemo a little bit earlier because of the side effects, I did radiation. So I had lost all of my hair after the first round of chemo, which, as I said earlier, like, as much as I hated my frizzy hair growing up, it became part of my identity. It was like, I'm the girl with curly hair. And so to lose my hair was devastating, because I had just learned how to style it better, and I was just beginning to really love my hair, and then it was gone.
Your hair care routine.
So I did radiation. I had to go into HSC for about 15 minutes a day, 5 days a week. And after chemo, you're so exhausted. Just to move from your couch to the bed is a struggle.
Wow.
And so...
Is it just all your energy is just zapped? Yeah?
Yeah. I remember in the early days of chemo, I went to the dollar store with my mom, and I couldn't stand. I had to sit down on the floor because I was... like, my body could not physically hold me up anymore. Wow. And there were times where I had to, like, mentally prepare myself to move. Like, okay, you're going to move your arm. You're going to reach for that thing. So it's a level of exhaustion, like, unless you've experienced it, like, it's so hard to describe.
Yeah.
But,
wow.
Yeah. So eventually, so I did chemo September to January. Got COVID in the hospital.
Oh.
No. Did radiation February to March of 2022, and then had the tumor removal surgery in May of 2022.
Wow. And did they give you like a heads up as to what to expect when they did the surgery? What did they tell you exactly?
I mean, they kind of said it all depends what we find when we go in there.
Right. Okay.
There's a chance they could open me up and say it's not
operable.
It's not non-operable, and just sew me back up. Yeah. Again, there's a chance I could have lost my eye. They thought I would have to lose more teeth, but they only have taken out all the top teeth on the left. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, it's so hard to mentally prepare for that. Like, you know, and like, they kind of tell you a little bit what to expect, but until you're in that situation and like faced with it, it's, yeah, I don't even know how, yeah, waking up, I'm like, I don't know how I got through that first day.
And when you woke up that first time, what surgery did they do to your face exactly?
Yeah, so they removed the tumor from my sinus cavity, and in my gums. They had to remove my whole hard palate, so they took muscle from my stomach and rebuilt my hard palate. They took a piece of bone from my hip and used it to rebuild part of my cheekbone and eye socket.
Oh, or else it would have collapsed.
Yeah.
Okay.
They put in a titanium plate right in the corner here. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe part of my hip bone was there to like hold my eye up. And they took... I've had so many different surgeries. Yeah. They took a vein from somewhere, and because of my tissue that was radiated, like the blood supply was like my tissue was not in great condition, so they had to like take a vein and transplant it in through my neck. Wow. To give some blood supply to the area. I think that was it.
That was just the first one.
The first one.
Oh my word! And how many surgeries have you had so far?
So from the like not including like wisdom teeth or like I had a port for my chemo or the biopsies, like the tumor removal. And then 6 reconstructive surgeries, or like one was a more minor procedure, but so like kind of 7 in total so far. Yeah. And I'm still in the process.
Wow.
So far, okay. So then they give you kind of outlook of what it's going to look like going forward in terms of surgeries, or what does that look like?
I mean, medical system, man. I love it and I hate it. So at one point they told me that I would like have all my surgeries and be done, so like facial reconstruction and dental work by February of 2024. So it's almost a year later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Part of that is because I had complications with my eye. So the piece that they put in here in the corner got infected. So after the May surgery, my hardware was infected, so they had to remove it in July of 2022. And then because they took it out, my eye dropped down. So my eye was quite a bit lower for some time. Then after that, they had to kind of bring some more blood supply, and like my surgeon described it as like putting the clay and the puzzle pieces in place, and then like gradually sculpting them and like fitting everything together. So I had a piece of my my leg, a big chunk of tissue right above my ankle that they took out and inserted in my cheek to help everything like grow, and then it's been a process of slowly removing that ankle piece and stretching my skin back. And yeah, I mean, there's still lots more to do. So
Okay.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, because I know you as this positive, bubbly, like, yes, you're introverted, but when anybody says hi to you, you're quite like excited about life. How do you, like, because I wouldn't think that you would just wake up like that out of surgery. Like, what was the process of you coming into acceptance with the fact that, okay, this is what I used to look like, this is the process I've been through, and now this is what I look like now, and it's just constantly being changed as you're going back into surgery, like, because then you can't have that identity in what you look like, right? Like,
Exactly.
how did you even sort through that?
You keep showing up to church, you keep showing up to events and things
To
like
weddings
that.
and everything.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, because my kind of first part of my journey was in 2021, COVID brought some unique challenges, but also some like beautiful blessings in that I could hide behind a mask and no one knew. So like I had a nasal biopsy and had to wear like padding under my nose, and I could still like go out and just wear a mask, and like no one would know. One would know. And so I hid behind my mask for a while, just like scars and everything, and was really self-conscious because it was hard to look in the mirror. I mean, it was a gradual thing because like of the way I was just a skeleton during chemo, hard to look in the mirror with no hair. I avoided mirrors for a long time. Like, obviously you look at yourself when you're getting ready, but to like stop and do a good look at yourself, it took me a while to get there.
I mean, I still like, because I had atrophy, I'm still skinny as ever. I see myself in the mirror. We have a mirror in our bedroom and laying in bed, and I'll just pull the blanket over just because I'd rather just not look at that time, and then I can just go on with my day. And so I still struggle with that, but I'm sure there's similar challenges. There's sometimes days that are hard for you though, still. I was trying to remember earlier, and I can't even count how many like versions of my face I've had.
Wow. That's a very deep statement. How many versions that you've had of yourself? Wow.
Yeah, I mean, surgery is one thing. There's also like, I got a lot of swelling in my face, like during radiation. I had kind of like tan marks on my face from the radiation beams going through the mesh grid that they use to kind of lock you in. And yeah, then, all these different surgeries where every couple months there's like a new version, new things, new scars.
Right, yes.
So it's not just my face, there's like, my whole body is kind of affected, but...
Yeah, and then how do you stay true to like, because we're Christians, so we don't believe that our identity is in this physical body. We have to believe in, the Bible talks about it's not what's outside. That's important. It's what is in the heart. So how do you daily exercise that in your life so that because I would think that's the only thing you would have to make you stay positive and hopeful, no matter what version of yourself you see in the mirror, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think... Yeah, people always say, like, beauty's on the inside, and it sometimes made me angry, because, yeah, it is, but you don't understand. Like, it still hurts.
Yeah, wow.
But knowing, and, like, it's a process I'm still growing in, but, like, learning that the core of who you are, your identity is not in your physical body.
Right.
It's not in what you can or can't do. It's not in, it's solely on who God has created you to be.
Yeah.
And so I've been really trying to lean into that, and just like that confidence that I am a child of God, and even though I don't understand sometimes, and I get really disappointed and discouraged and angry, God can handle that anger.
Yeah.
That also took me a while to like know in a deep way. Like you can say God can handle your anger, but like until it's like on the surface and you're like really having a hard talk with him. And you always want to be like, I'm okay. Like, you don't want to ruin anyone else's day with like your anger, or I don't know if you've heard of Kate Bowler.
No.
She's an amazing woman from Manitoba, but like is quite famous in the States and beyond. She was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and has a lot to say on like beauty and grief and the things people say when you're sick, and the stupid things people say when you're sick.
What is one of the things that somebody has said that is just like, that is the stupidest thing you could have ever said to me? Obviously,
there's lots of... Yeah, I think the most common ones are... and it's not a bad thing to say, but it hits different when you're going through it. People will say, you're so brave, you're so courageous. Yeah, I have no choice.
Do you feel brave or courageous? Yeah.
I have no choice. If I wanted to live, like, I had to do that thing. So it's just a different mindset shift. There are some elements of courage, and like the way that your perspective on things, and like still being able to cling to hope because of God, and the hope that he can bring and the peace that he brings. But
and I guess people just don't know what to say when especially if like, because we found the hardest people to talk to for us were people who knew Josh before his accident. They're the ones who I would say are most uncomfortable to approach him, because they just don't know what to say. Yeah, we had one friend, she said, why do people keep coming up to me and asking me questions about you? Why don't they just come to you and ask you? And I told her, no, people do that to me all the time. They'll come and ask me how he's doing, and I'm like, he's right there. Just go talk to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like those people that know you before, that they just don't know how to approach you or what to say.
Yeah, they don't know how to act or what to say, or and I don't want to scare anyone away from connection by feeling like you're going to say the wrong thing. My cousin who had the brain tumor, we sat down early on after my diagnosis, and it was just so helpful for him to say, like, yeah, people are going to say some things, and they're coming from a place of like wanting to be there for you but not knowing how, or like wanting to be positive or form connection, and it might not hit differently, but you still have to treat that, like to receive that. I mean, you don't have to receive a bad word, but like just to understand that where they're coming from is not to create more hurt or like placate you or say cliches, but
I guess because they're doing their best, the best they know how, right? No.
How would you say, because like I want people to be able to come up and ask me questions, feel comfortable. How would you suggest that people, in order for people to feel comfortable asking you questions, because I'm sure you invite questions all the time, like how do they not feel awkward asking questions?
I feel like I'm a pretty open book. So right at the start of my journey, I started writing updates on Facebook because I have friends around the world, and it was just an easy way for people to kind of check in and know how I was doing. And for me, the process of writing was really like
therapeutic,
helping me like work through some stuff. And sorry, I like lost my train of thought.
But so when people approach you, it's not uncomfortable for you to say, ask me how I'm doing. Like, I don't mind sharing.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm a very open book. I am so open to questions. I have had good and bad experiences within the general public of, you view the world through your lens, so who knows, what actually was happening. But there was one point where I was in a store without my mask for one of the very few times at first, and I had a lady talking to me as if I was mentally disabled as well as physically.
I've had that
disabled.
where somebody asked me if you were like mentally okay. That was one of the first questions when they saw your picture. They were like, so is he mentally sound? Like, as if they were concerned for me. They're like, so you're dating him? Is he mentally okay? And I was like, because he's in a wheelchair, you think he's not like? Oh man, that's rough.
So I mean, that was a turning point for me actually, to be like, I got really angry that day, and I was like, no, I am who I am. I don't have to adjust my life to make you feel comfortable. So I kind of stopped wearing my mask after that, and started being more vulnerable in public.
One of the hardest things for me is because like I'm around kids all the time, and one experience I had with you was there was a little girl who ran up to us at church, and she looked at you and she was like, what is wrong with her face? And it made me mad because I was like, you are such a kind little girl. Don't, like, 'cause she was like you know, and her, like, the look on her face, I've never seen her do such a look. And I was like, you are such a loving little girl. Like, that's not how you treat people. And I didn't even know how to navigate it, because I was just like fuming. I was like, this is not how you should act right now. Like, you know, I was like, let's talk privately. But you handled it really well. So how do you handle it when kids come up to you? Because kids don't have filters, right?
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And thankfully I have 1 nephew and 6 nieces. And so, like, I'm used to kids. I'm used to questions. It's also so helpful that my mom has had issues with her eye. And she used to be a grade 3 teacher. So, like, every new school year, she would have to, like, talk to people and say, like, hey, I can still see out of one eye.
Yeah.
If you close one of your eyes, can you still see?
Yeah.
Right.
And so I picked up that tactic of, like, when kids have questions, they're kids.
You
They
make
don't
it,
have
you make it
filters.
very practical.
Yeah. Kind of like, hey, everybody's face is different, but we're still, you know, able to do things, and life may look different, but, you know, everybody's human. So I really do appreciate when I have when I'm out in public, and I've had a couple people ask me, like, hey, can I ask what happened, or, like, what happened to your face, or and I know that probably isn't for everyone, but for me personally, I really appreciate that, because I can share, hey, I'm going through facial reconstruction, but I'm cancer free,
Right.
and I can share a little bit of my story depending on who I'm talking to, and I would rather have someone ask me questions, or like ask what happened, versus the kind of lingering
Or do people do, like, the plague thing where because for Josh and I, people just separate as we're, like, walking through, as if they're just like, oh, he's coming, don't touch
No,
him.
but I see, you know, you kind of, like, scan the crowd as you walk through, and I see, like, people's heads, like, turn and do another look. I had a lady in the grocery store last month, older lady in her 70s, where I kind of, like, walked between her and her daughter, who was over here. And so the lady called out to her daughter, hey. And so, like, I glanced at the mom, and she was like, I lost my earring. And I was like, she was so obviously, like, pointing at me.
Wow.
So I still have
Don't
those
do that.
rapid
Don't do that at
experiences.
all.
People are very inconsiderate.
Wow.
So, you know, there's still those, but I don't let them get to me as much as I used to, because I am so much more secure in who I am.
Right.
I feel like I was, you know, shy and self-conscious growing up, and I was, like, just kind of, like, coming into my own, and, like, really rediscovering who God had created me to be. And then it was COVID, and then it was cancer, and I feel like, yes, I still am self-conscious, but I'm so much more, like, self-assured. Which, I don't know, maybe they feel like they're opposite, but I'm just so much more secure in who I am.
And what would you attribute that to?
God, prayer. Really having to, like, press through and pray through these struggles, and I'm incredibly fortunate that I have not only, like, an amazing family, both immediate and extended. I have great friends. I have an amazing church community. I've had strangers around the world that are praying for me that
wow.
I don't even know. But just that, like, that peace and that assurance and confidence that can only come from Christ.
Yeah. Wow. That's so inspiring for me, because I'm sure people watching this, not everyone is going to have like a cancer scare or be in a wheelchair. Some people are going to be like me, where like growing up, I was probably about 2 years old when I went to my mom and said, so when I get to heaven, I get to be white, right? Like I was asking her that because at a very young age, I knew that I was Black, and I knew it wasn't good. You know, like something in me just said, this isn't good that I look like this. And in my family, we felt, this is something that all Black people feel around the world, is in our families, based on the complexion you have, that's how you're treated. And that's like coming from even your immediate family, your mom, your dad. Like if they do what's called the paper bag test, where the moment you're born, they bring a paper bag and they try to see, is your complexion lighter than a paper bag? And then based on that, they determine, are you beautiful? And so within my family, we always had that comparison, and we could feel it when people were treating each other differently because of their skin color. And that was such a hard process for me to work through, even just coming to terms with the fact that there are still family members that won't treat me with love because my skin color is as dark as it is. And so it's so encouraging for me to hear you talk about your identity being found in God, because He created you, and that's where I had to find my security. And even working in the film industry, there is still, Josh hears me rant about it a lot. We will have casting say we're looking for a Black person, and then I'll go into the audition and I'll see mixed Black people that they're the ones that end up booking the role, and they are as white as a white person, but because they have a quarter bit of Black in them, they say, that's what the audience likes, that's what people can accept as a Black person, so that's what we're gonna put on TV. And it makes me feel so ugly. It's just, it's the worst feeling, like feeling like you're going into an audition and just scanning the room and seeing every person, anyone with even just, my dad is a quarter Black, so I'm Black. They can come in and use that title, and all of a sudden, yes, we've met our diversity quota, we're good. But that's majority of what people are seeing on TV, is people that don't look like me, so I must be ugly then. And it's been years of just having to dig into the Word of God and declaring scriptures like, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I am His masterpiece. I had to look in the mirror, and especially having alopecia, I went years wearing wigs and not looking in the mirror without a wig on. And when I just felt like God said, it's time to take that wig off, and looking in the mirror and seeing what I saw and declaring, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. I am your masterpiece. It's like I constantly have to keep going back to it. And I mean, this beautiful man here, even when he tells me I'm beautiful, I'll give him a hard time every now and then and just say like, but I don't feel beautiful, and because I just feel like maybe if I looked like him, maybe if I had blue eyes, if I had lighter skin, if I had straight hair, then I could be considered beautiful. But it really takes going to your maker, and I mean, God has a plan, and He knows what He's going to put us through, even as we're going through it. And in that, we can still find beauty through that. Yeah, so
just for the people that are watching, what would you say, as someone who's gone through all of this, what would you say to someone who's about to go through it, who is going through it, or a family member who has someone, son, daughter, husband, wife, going through it? What would you say to them? Like, what's your spiel?
Oh man. I mean, it's hard because I still do struggle a lot with body image and changes in my face and in my speech especially. But I think for me, finding people that can help you walk through your grief and not ignoring your feelings, but working through them. And having people that can come alongside you and support you, especially in a Christian community, like having people pray for you and pray with you. For me, I found a lot of like freedom talking with other young adults who are going through cancer and their experiences with the medical system and with their body, and just having like those safe places where you can feel free to like share and be yourself. And so to have people that can encourage you, but also understand. And even if they can't fully understand, like being willing to listen and being a safe space for someone. Having those safe spaces as you kind of struggle and learn to grow in that. And I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so if I know you're on social media, is there any platform where if anybody, because we have people contact us and just wanting support or even just wanting to just share their own story, is there any place that people can reach out? Like, can they DM you or
Yep. I keep my Instagram for the fun stuff because I write too much about my health when I do my healthcare updates, and they don't always fit on Instagram. But they're definitely welcome to connect with me there.
What is your handle?
It's
we can drop it in the description.
Yeah. It's Eyoole, Eyole, which is my African middle name.
Cool.
And most of my Facebook is public. The health updates that I write, because I have friends of friends that look at them.
Awesome.
So if you want to learn more about my story or ask me questions, Facebook is a good place to connect with me.
This is so encouraging. Okay, I want to do something that we haven't ever really done on this, but would you be able to pray for us and the people watching right now, just that we would have what you have, that security in our identity in God. Yeah,
sure. God, thank you so much for this beautiful couple. Thank you so much for this conversation. God, we pray that all those who are watching or listening, if anything has spoken to them throughout our conversation, God, would you just highlight that in their mind, that they know that there's people here that they can talk to, that there's people that have been where they have been, maybe not exactly, but they have experiences that might relate to what someone else is going through. So we just pray that your peace would come on people. God, thank you for the vulnerability and the struggles that Josh has shared and Sherelle has shared, and just the beauty of them being rooted in you. And God, we just pray for anyone that is listening that doesn't know God, to know that there is a safe place and there is peace available. We just pray for anyone that's struggling with body image and identity, that you would put people in their life that can be a safe place to just be themselves, that you would continue to teach them more about who you have created them to be. God, that each one of us is knit together in our mother's womb, and we are fearfully and wonderfully made, even though sometimes it's a struggle for us to see it ourselves. God, would you just be with those listening and be with us here today, and show us that our identity and who we are can be found in you, and help us to find those people in our life that we can just be completely, utterly ourselves, and the good and the bad, the grief and the joy. Just pray for anyone that's going through medical treatments or about to embark on a journey. God, would you give them peace? Would you give their doctors wisdom? God, would they know that they can be angry, they can ask you questions, but God, you are never changing. You are always there, and even in the darkest nights, you are a light that shines. And so I pray that your light would shine on us, and that we can reflect that to others around us. Yeah. In your name, amen.
In Jesus' name, amen. Wow, thank you so much for just talking with us. I'm sure this is encouraging. So next podcast we have our friend Stacy coming.
Yes.
Yeah, she has been an amazing friend that has learned how to accommodate us, and also she's learned how to really be a true friend. So I think her story will encourage you guys on what it looks like to be friends with people with disabilities when you don't have a disability. Yeah. Yeah, so you can stay tuned for that. Okay. Bye.